bela nawe yo mpaka mpaka. Nataka nikubae mimi baba, siku zangu zote za maisha. Pa 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 pa.
Well, all right then. So, like we told you earlier on when we began the show today, we're going to be having an interesting conversation about voter registration apathy.
Yeah. And we've got quite the array here of young people who are hesh.
Yes, so
and also, yeah.
Hopefully they're also young.
They'll tell us if they are young or not.
Yeah, they'll tell us about it. But of course, the backdrop of this is because we have 2 weeks left for the voter registration to end. IBC set out what now looks like an ambitious target of 6 million voters that to register. So far they have 1.5 million, and this is after all the perceived hard work. We're going to find out where the problem is. So we'll start by introducing this side.
Oh, you want to start with this side?
Yeah, let's start with this side.
Okay, so I've been told that the front row are people who have not registered. So we'll start with you guys. Just pass the mic over here. Tell us your name, where you're from.
My name is Kevin Waimiri. I'm a student at Daystar University.
Okay.
Yes.
Karibu.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Naomi Gitao and I'm a marketer by profession.
Hi, I'm Gideon Chelule, a Strathmore University student.
All right, and we'll move over to the back row. All of you have registered, I understand.
So
yeah.
And I have registered.
And I have registered.
My name is Ian Tunduria. I am a student at UN Parklands, and I am a voter.
I'm Ann Nyokabi. I am currently looking for a job, and I am a registered voter.
My name is Mary Nkatha. I am currently a psychologist and an entrepreneur, and I'm a registered voter.
All right.
Also on this side, I'll have the honor of introducing you. So we'll start with Mheshimiwa Dan Mazo, a member of parliament from Makueni.
Yes.
We have John Kiarie, aspirant for the Dagoretti South MP seat. And then we have Mr. Andrew Awili, who is a member of the Jivotia initiative, which seeks to marshal up numbers towards having them register. So before we ask them why they haven't registered, let's start with the numbers that we have.
Yes.
Of course, we'll start with you, Mheshimiwa. 6 million, only 1.5, about 25%.
Yes.
Why do you think the problem is?
Yes, it's voter apathy, and first I want to inform the nation that I'm sitting in for the Honorable Ken Okoth, the member of parliament for Kibra, who was supposed to be in this show, but due to some unavoidable circumstances he cannot be. And for that matter, I sit in for him. I want to say that Kenyans like the last minute rush. And the machines you are using, the BVRs, are just machines. So they are likely to get overworked if all of us go to queue the last day. And because I'm a lawyer, I'm aware, chances are high that there will be no way you will push forward or you'll add more days for the voter registration because of regulations which deal with this. And therefore it's good for Kenyans to know, though we have this culture of last minute, it could be very tricky because the machines are likely to get overworked, so they shut down, and therefore your features will not be taken, and it will become extremely tricky, and a lot of people may be turned down in the evening while they really want to do so. So it's one of the reasons. The other reason, which is the allegations, that because of the doctor strike, people have gone through a very difficult time. And from Makueni constituency, we lost quite a number of people. And the families are frustrated. So somebody will be asking themselves, why will I go to vote if I don't get government services or I don't get served? Why do I put a government in place? Some of the people could get apathy out of that, and there's an allegation out of that doctor's strike. They are very unhappy. It hasn't been sorted out by the government, and the government has capacity to sort this out almost immediately. There are many other reasons. Others are asking to be facilitated to go and register. So you wonder if you have to buy that person to register as a voter, and they have an ID, then will you buy them again on the day of voting? So I really want to encourage Kenyans. We must stop this culture of I must be vote to vote, because that's where corruption begins. any person buy voters, or a politician, is be elected on the ground of their vote, then most probably they are going to return their money. They will not work for you. So I think Kenyans should love their country. You should be patriotic enough to want to be on that queue, so that you can be one of the people to be counted to build the nation. Because when you vote, you build the nation. When you don't vote, then you help in bringing in the wrong leader, and then you all suffer together and we regret as a country. So there are many reasons be advanced, and I'm sure some will come out in this forum. And I really want to urge Kenyans. Even the president has said you can now get your ID in 3 days. So you can, if you are above 18 years, like you're in university, you can get your ID in 3 days, and in 5 days' time, you'll have registered as a voter.
So, Mheshimiwa, you sound quite hopeful that there might still be that last-minute rush that occurs. KJ, what are your thoughts on that? Having run, a similar campaign to what Jivotia are doing about a decade ago, so do you still think that last-minute rush is likely to happen?
Well, out of a target of 6 million, and we are beyond halfway through, and we're only doing 1 point something, it tells you that we are definitely off the mark. And when I talk about we, I'm talking about the country. We are off the mark. Now, it can be attributed to some issues that Mheshimiwa Maanzo is raising. And I want to add 2 more issues to it. And the first issue is, of course, there is a level of ignorance, a lack of understanding as to why you register to vote. There could be an individual who thinks that they register to vote so that they can put someone in power. There is an individual who thinks that they register to vote and then end up queuing for a day to just put someone in power to go and enjoy the benefits and the trappings of power. Now, that is wrong. It's a wrong perception, because the reason why you're voting is so that you have your voice in decision making in this country. Now, if you do not vote, chances are someone else is going to vote, and they're going to be forwarding their own agenda, their own interest, and as such, you're the biggest loser. Now, the second reason, and I want to say it very categorically, is that it is squarely the role of IEBC to go out there and do a massive voter registration drive that convinces people on the reasons why they should be on the voters' roll. Now, if you think about the cycle that we are in, we had a massive voter registration probably 5 years ago in the last election. We had one last year that wasn't that big, but we are talking about a generation that is probably between the age of 18 to 24. Those will be the biggest number of the first-time registrations. Now, 18 to 24, has IEBC studied this demography? Have they found out what interests these young people? Have they found out what language these young people are speaking? Have they found out how to get through to them? And that's where you find interventions like Vijana Tugutuke coming in, or Jivotia for that matter. For Vijana Tugutuke, and that was 10 years ago, we decided that we are going to use what language the young people were using then. And at that time, entertainment was big. You remember when Kenyan superstars were Kenyan superstars. And all we did was the mother of all roadshows. It was a massive caravan. Any name that was anyone in Kenya's entertainment industry got onto the bandwagon, and we would bring a concert to your city or your town. And to get an opportunity to watch these people live in concert, you had to have a voter's card. And if you don't have a voter's card, we register you on the spot. We had the ECK then, the now defunct ECK, coming to these concerts because they saw how massive this movement was. Now, 2 things were happening there. One, Vijana Tugutuke was speaking to the young demographic in their language. And 2, we were giving crash courses on civic education. As such, we were able to get through to this population, and the numbers don't lie. You know, we had close to 4.2 million new voter registration in that session. Quite a big number of which could be attributed directly or indirectly to the Vijana Tugutuke movement. So there is ignorance. And 2, IEBC hasn't quite cracked how to speak to these young people.
Right. Yeah. So, Andrew, you're the ones who now are speaking to these young people, yes, and we'll get to hear from them, in a minute. But briefly, what has been your experience with the Djibouti movement? What are the trends that you're seeing?
Okay. First, I'll begin with where we started. Djibouti started 3 weeks ago, and we were a group of young guys who just came together, and we wanted to change this voter apathy amongst our peers. So the idea for the movement came through. We are people from different vocations with different talents and business interests. So we have been funding whatever we have been doing, and we formulated a plan to start with Nairobi. So we have been going out to these guys and been speaking to them, and so far we have been successful to register about 8,000 young people. But I can say the problem with them, some are ill-informed, and then others are, because of the political rhetoric that goes on, they're like, we don't have to vote. I mean, these guys will either steal, or it's the same guys who do the same thing. So we try and advise these guys that, look here, when me plus you and another one come together, we can actually make a change. So yeah, Djibouti, we are planning to go out because we've focused on Nairobi, and it has been our challenge just getting door to door, but at least we...
So I want to cross over to the young people here, and we'll start with the registered voters in the back there. Maybe one of you can tell us, do you feel that there's enough information out there targeting young people to go and vote? Did you feel like, and yeah, these people are talking to me, I need to get out there, cast my vote, or what was your reasoning behind becoming a registered voter?
For me, I think, like Mwashima said, I cannot complain that the leaders are not doing their job if myself I don't do my job, because it is my constitutional right and responsibility to elect my leaders. So I cannot complain or go out there and say haki yangu without first taking up my responsibility. That's why I went out and registered as a voter.
All right, another opinion from someone else?
You see, when you're below 18, you really strive to really get through past 18 so that you can make your own decision. So when it comes to 18, political decision is really a major thing in your life, because almost everything is political, and you cannot separate political from the social life. So in me making a decision to vote is because I know I know what I want, the independence I want, and I want to bring in the leaders that I really want to focus on my needs and focus on my own understanding. Leaders who understand my need, their youthful needs, because if you put in someone there and he does not really understand the youth culture and what the youth really need, he won't be able to implement the youth structures that will be favorable to us.
Well, you sound very, well informed. Yeah. Did someone bring that information to you? Is this something? Have you just always been, a patriotic, political type of person?
I believe everything starts from when you're small. So when growing up, you see how you've grown. Maybe, for example, umekuwa mtaya. That's something hakuna kitu shai happen. So you see, when you umetoka, maybe ulikuwa shago, umekuja unaona mtaza Lavington, Rundo, unaona vile mekaa, then you ask, yani there's some kuna pali kama hapa. You see, so you don't have mtu kama huyo in your place. Utaishi tu pale na ile barabara ya Mara, utasumbukana tu na hiyo. So really bringing someone. And for example, the youth, most, like my friend here is unemployed. You see, we know that there is not enough job there. But you see, if you put in somewhere, if you put in someone who is youth focused and knows who is really intelligent, he see necessarily to pick you outside and give you a job. You see, he'll do maybe youth empowerment, atakupatia pesa, maybe wende wanzishe kibanda, ama uchimbe maji, uweke fish. You see, so we really need youthful people who understand the youth. So, and for you to do that is for you to take the voter's card first, and then go to vote.
All right, lastly too.
Kappa there, I want to ask her because she says she's a psychologist. About what do you think is going on in the psyche of, they'll talk, but what do you think is going on in their psyche? Because they don't want to vote. What do you think is informing some of these trends you're seeing?
I think the major thing that is going on is helplessness, whereby you see the same systems happening, and you're like, where do I come in as an individual in these many millions of Kenyans, and what do I do? So at the end of the day, you're like, I'm looking to myself. Politics does not help me. Nothing helps me except I myself, and I'll sort myself out. So when you feel like that, even going out to register as a voter, you feel like it does not make a difference at the end of the day.
What about just before? I've had a address like someone wants to comment from this side, but before they do, start with Chelule, and you know, why are you, for example, and we hope probably changes, but why are you not registered, and why don't you want to register?
I'm not registered because one thing, the same leaders come to power, no matter what you do, no matter if you go to the police, the same leaders come to power, and at the end of the day, in our country, depends who has the most money. Who has the most money, then they come to power.
Just about the mic.
Switch out the microphone there. Grab that mic in the back.
I guess you can make your point again, because I think there was a problem with the mic.
Okay, the point I don't have I'm not a registered voter is because the same leaders come back to power, and the people who have money are the people who are going to be elected, obviously, because they'll buy all the voters then.
All right, and to the lady here.
Okay, I think I'm concurring with Chelule, because I mean there are people who have been voting even before. This is not the first election, so I mean the same leaders still come into play. So what difference does my vote make? I mean,
so now to someone who would say to that, well, if everyone thinks like you, then we'll have thousands and thousands of people whose vote could have counted, but have the same opinion of my vote doesn't count.
But still, there are people who go out and they vote, and I feel the same leaders still come to power. So why am I going off my busy schedule? I work from 8 to 5. So now a day to relax and just catch my rest, honestly.
It's so easy. Yesterday I was at Kilimani Primary School and the voter registration was happening. I got there's 5 people in line. 5. Look, I thought I was in the wrong place. So it literally just takes minutes of your day. It's not even, anything that is going to
take the voter's card, but to vote, it takes there are queues on queues on queues.
Go up country, there's less people.
Contrary to popular belief, I live in up country and there's still queues.
You can't take a day. She needs to relax.
Take one day
to relax your teeth.
Okay, for me, the reason why I don't have my voter's card is that I've never seen really the sense. For me personally, I think politics is mainly for old guys. We've not had just recently. That's when we started having youth guys being in parliament stuff and like that. But all these other people who have political aspirations and stuff like that, they're usually old people. So they have olden beliefs, stuff that won't impact me. If they say they'll create, they'll help people who are above 30. Like me, I'm like, okay, so what do I get? What's in it for me? How is my life gonna progress? But after some time, you come to realize that, why should I even get my voter's card today, and then on that day, even if I vote for this guy, there's not gonna be much change for me. It's gonna be change maybe for her or maybe for him, but for our side, nah, nothing much.
Because you said something about that the reason why people vote is they think they're voting somebody to enjoy the trappings of power. But in reality, what they're seeing on TV every day are scandals and back and forth. So what do you say to that?
This is a reality. This is a reality, and what we are hearing from them is valid. To them there is good reason why they are not doing it. I want to make a few points, and I need to mention that I'm not trying to convince anyone to take a voter's card, but I'd like to say one thing. Youth is a transition age. It's like pregnancy. Today you're youthful, tomorrow you're not. If you saw us in our days, in our heydays, by the way, we believed we were the guys. And we thought we were the guys. But before you know it, stuff like this, you're a grown man. You're making decisions. You realize that this politics that you have been avoiding is actually impacting on every single thing that you do. From the price of the bread you're going to buy in the morning, to the bundles that you're going to get onto your phone, all the way to how much you pay to be in university. Joblessness is as a result of bad decisions made politically. So if you think you're too busy getting on with life, your life is going to get even busier if the wrong decisions are made today. Now, Mheshimiwa Manzo sits in Parliament. He can tell you there are committees upon committees upon committees that make decisions about every single element of the life that you live, you're living today. So you've got to think about the fact that if you stay away, you might be staying away today, but the consequences of it are going to impact on you, your younger brothers, your children when they come, and your children's children. What we are living now is a reality of decisions that were made by people who are ahead of us. So you can decide to either leave a better Kenya behind, and then leave it yourself, or ignore your civic duty and live a worse of Kenya. And the young people, your children, will be asking you, Dad, what did you do in your time when you were young? Finally, you said something that that got me a bit concerned. You said that the rich people end up getting in power. It's a perception that has been made. But let me tell you, when one young person decides to make a change, it's unbelievable what can end up happening. I'll give you an example. Mheshimiwa is sitting in Bunge with Mheshimiwa Kinoti.
Kinoti, yes.
From Buri.
Buri, yes.
The youngest member of parliament in Kenya. He had nothing to his name before he got to parliament. In fact, he couldn't even afford to be in a political party. This young boy had gone to university and he decided, I'm going to go back to my community and give back to my community. And what he used to do is give tuition and tutorials and so on. Some people saw his effort and they started contributing computers which he would give out to his constituency. Ultimately, when the election was called, this young boy floored heavily muddied men and women who are in big political parties, and he now sits in Bunge. And if you go to Buri today, they will tell you that they have seen the change that this young man is making.
And they are going to re-elect him.
And they are going to re-elect him. So we can't say that we are going to give up, because we know that if we go into this process, that we are going to lose out to the heavily moneyed people. Now, voting is not, being involved in this electoral process is not one day. Can you imagine how many hours you spend on queue to just get into a club? Or how many hours you waste away on the internet, just doing nothing on social media? Let me tell you, it is a participation that you carry out every single day of your life. I'm reminded of a quote that tells me that, you know, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. So it is not putting a guy to Bunge and then relaxing and waiting for him to cause the blunders. It is eternal vigilance. We keep them accountable for the whole duration when they're in town.
Yes, I want to say that, you know, yesterday, the day before yesterday, there was a big debate in Parliament, which I seconded. There was a motion brought up by the Honorable Jude Jomo on vote apathy and whether now Kenya could use persuasive ways to ask Kenyans to vote, because the number of people with IDs who don't want to register as voters are in millions. Therefore, it's a concern. And you know, some members of Parliament thought it was nonsense. But while the debate went on, it turned out that there are many countries where voter registration and to vote is a must. And they usually have, you know, they have the details of their country, people like Brazil. So if you don't vote, then you don't benefit from the country's, you know, many things you can benefit. And like for the young lady there who says she's looking for a job, and she's a registered voter, what we were saying in Parliament is such a person now should be given priority, because and preferential treatment, because she wants to serve the country. She wants to be patriotic, and you know, patriotism is what builds a nation, because a nation is not built by one person. I want to persuade with the ones who have not yet registered voters that first and foremost, it is not compulsory in Kenya, it's voluntary. Secondly, a lot of people register but they never vote. Thirdly, it is you know, the moment you do that, you create change. And the new constitution is now not talking of bosses, it is talking of servants. And the young people in Kenya, the time I worked in the Ministry of Youth, they are 72%. The young people can take over all the positions of service in this country in a day. That is in them, but only if they work together and they vote together. So you have an opportunity to change the nation. So it's no longer really the rich person, though the money counts. You know, the logistics in an election are quite expensive. You know, the movement and the people who work for you during that time, they must be paid. I don't encourage voter buy, because that's where the country has gone wrong. And that's why we can't get rid of corruption. Because if I bought the vote, why will I not return my money? It means I was doing business. I was not going to serve people. So immediately I get to power, because I spend my money, which most probably is borrowed, then I must return this money. I must pay back the bank, and therefore I go to steal. So for us to kill corruption, we need to have free and fair elections where you're not being bought to register as a voter and to go and vote. So I really want to encourage all young people in the country, because this is a representation. And I have already taken note of the young lawyer, because I'm a lawyer, the one in law school. So once you are through with your law school, I can show you around. And I've been a lawyer for 15 years. I'm growing to seniority. There are more senior lawyers who we looked at when we were growing up, like Senator Orengo, Senator Kiraitu Murungi. We looked at these people and we were inspired. So I want you to look at the other lawyers. It's a good profession. If you work hard, you'll quickly become a millionaire. And I believe one day you'll be elected. So that spirit you have to serve the nation, I'm sure you will be served back by Kenyans.
Andrew, I'm coming to you in just a moment, and perhaps you can address something that our psychiatrist friend here talked about, the helplessness. She said, you know, people just feel like, you know what, I'm just going to worry about myself. Like, whatever it is that is going on in the bigger picture, I feel helpless to affect change. So how are you addressing that in your Jivotie initiative, and have you seen a response?
In the same regard, I'd love to concur with them, because if you're helpless, you remain helpless without this voters card. As our hashtag says, kura yako kesho yako. I mean, you have generations after you. If you see a bad road, you did not vote, what are you complaining? You had a chance to make a change. You know, that is why Jivotie is going out and telling these young guys that when we come together as the youths, we have a voice that ata wakiiba kura, they can't steal 1.6 million votes. I mean, that's a big difference. You know, okay, I don't know how they steal. but you get my point. So this helplessness remains if you remain voterless. So your vote is your tomorrow. It is the key to her solution. You see, she's already gotten a voter's card. So she'll elect someone who at least will provide employment for her. As for this one's, hopelessness remains until that voter's card.
One other thing,
yes.
This young man talked about voting being for the older people.
For the older
for the older generation, and I think that's a perception held by quite a number of people.
Vijana Tugutuke changed that. Actually, it was after the voters' drive in 2007 that for the first time in Kenya's history, the younger people were more on the voters' roll than the older people. But even look at the demographics of this country. Now, if you say that we vote to make decisions for Kenya, who is Kenya? Mheshimiwa Manzo is telling us over 72% of Kenya is young. So how do we leave these decisions that affect young people to people who are not living this plight? I think it is important that young people realize that they are the majority. And when you talk about it being for older people, there is a thinking that I subscribe to that says that, you know, the evil minority will rule over the good majority, because the evil minority is organized while the good majority is disorganized. So when you see movements like Jivotie, they're trying to organize people who believe in a good Kenya, so that the more organized people would be the good people, and they would be able to reign over the evil minority.
I just to encourage young Kenyans. Now Parliament is more youthful, even Senate. You know, there is,
and especially members of county assemblies.
Yes, the county assemblies. Now there are very many opportunities for young people, even in the county assemblies, to be able to make decisions at the home level. And that's why in the future we have said the people who are going to be elected are going to be graduates from after 2022. So in Parliament right now it's very youthful, and the Honorable Barakiare here is going to join Parliament very soon.
Mungu mbele.
And it's true. Yeah. And first of all, you know, you must trust in God, because it is God who creates these positions. You can never really put yourself there. The voters is a queue. God talked to them for a good reason. So, the Spirit of God tells you where to. So it's good to be among those people the Spirit of God is talking to. I believe a lot of young Kenyans are going to change. And finally, I'm pleading with the Kenyans, because I know there are many Kenyans. And one time I had a job opportunity. And one young girl sent me a very moving SMS. So now she's a graduate, she has scored very well. And where she was working, she was only being paid 5,000 shillings a month. And that man was mistreating her. So because I had a job position, I immediately offered her a job, and it has changed our family. And offered her the comfort of not being disturbed while she's working. And now she's reading her master's out of the salary I pay her. So I want to appeal to Kenyans who have a job there to give this wonderful lady who is jobless but has registered as a voter. And I'm sure you'll get a job. I'm praying God that you get a job and that you can serve Kenya, and one day you'll be in parliament, and one day you can be president of this nation.
And speaking also to Anne, you know, because what you said you're unemployed, right? So what drove you to register as a voter? Because you would easily sit back and say, hata sasa sina kazi, hii system ndio imefanya nisikuwe na hii kazi, sasa mbona naenda kupiga kura or to register.
Like I said earlier, if I sit and just say what difference will it make, asijisaidi. But if I register as a voter and listen to what the politicians are saying, I can listen to whose policies are going to help me, whose policies are going to create a job market for me, so I can vote for that person. But if I just sit at home and say, they're not going to help me, then I'm not helping myself. So by me going out and registering, I'm going to help myself, because I'm going to elect someone who's going to have my back.
Now, I want someone in the back row to answer this, and any one of you can jump in, because I'm trying to address the concerns that each of you brought up. She brought up the issue of, man, that day, man, I just want to relax, as in going to queue for hours. That's her issue, and it's valid, because that, you know, she is a potential voter. So what are you guys going to do in the queues for those hours, and how do you justify, you know, you being in the queue versus her being at home relaxing on that election day?
If you want to sleep on that day, you can wake up really early and be there by 4 or 5. Be the first person in the queue. The minute the polls are open, you voted, and you go back home and have your day of rest.
All right. Anyone else with an opinion back there?
I'm thinking, if you sleep that day and the next day you're still complaining about your 8 to 5, and you have a very good business idea that you can even do, and now start your own business and even earn more, so that you don't complain about your 8 to 5, then you're not helping yourself. Because one, she had mentioned the issue of the same leaders over and over again, but let's be real here. We can't all be presidents. I want to be president, Anne wants to be president, Yumi maybe wants to be president, but at the end of the day, there can be only one president. But this president might be in power for 2 terms, like President Obama, but make such a difference. And it's not about the name, it's not about the money, it's not about which family you come from, it's about what am I bringing to the table, what manifesto am I bringing to the table. When you enter there, will you look at us as youths and think this 30% needs to continue the AGPO thing, so that at least the people who are unemployed do not feel helpless. They can go out, start a business, go to Uwezo Fund, get funds, and grow myself, and even as I grow this nation, and even create employment for the unemployed, instead of feeling like I can't do this. So if you don't wake up to vote, you can't complain.
So is there anybody so far who una feel ni kama you might think about it and go and register?
She's like, nope.
I'm still not convinced.
You're not convinced?
Why? What is your...
Yeah.
What's still... Like, I mean, they've made what I feel...
What would it take?
Points. What would it take?
For you to be convinced?
Yeah, they're saying we elect leaders who can make change. When you elect them, they go forever. They come back after 5 years telling you again, elect me back again. And the guy was poor like you, now he's rich.
Let me answer him. What KJ said, you have to be vigilant. After you vote this guy, unfortunately, I mean, parliamentarians can drop. You can actually pass a vote of no confidence.
You can recall your member of parliament.
Thank you. And Nyumbani, you have the right.
But how? Okay.
She has some.
Okay, I think it sounds very nice when you guys say it, and I'm actually on the line. But then, when I think about it realistically, we've seen our leaders behave badly, and it's like, so you went with all these nice looking policies and you told us you're going to do this, do that, but then we see you with so many scandals over there. So we are trying to be accountable, and I think I saw this in our constituency from Kiambu, and they were trying to maybe have a governor be removed from power, but it didn't go anywhere. There's nothing we can do to anyone. It's like we're helpless, as in people tried to even like sign petitions and whatnot, but it didn't go anywhere.
Without the Kiambu governor's right of reply.
As I said, I'm not here to try and convince anyone, and they've got good reason why they hold the positions that they hold. But think of what the exact alternative is. So you have refused to vote. Did you change what you thought people could not change? Did you change it? And now, and it is something that is becoming much of a bigger problem for this country, where we are becoming more individualistic as we go on. Now, the moment you start thinking individually, you realize that you're becoming really selfish, and while you might not suffer from your consequences, there are many other people who are suffering from the decision that you're making for not voting. Now, think of generations that have gone before us. The Mau Mau were young people. They were probably younger than I was. They were probably your age. These guys could have sat back and said, this is a superpower. We are up against the colonialists. We are up against the empire. No one can change the situation right now. But these were young people who were committed not only to themselves, but to their families and to their country. And they said, you know what? Whatever it takes, I'm going to go there. That never rings in our head, because we can never draw that reality of a man who is leaving his young wife and little children to go into the bush knowing that he might never come back. And he's saying, I'm doing this not for myself, but for my family and for my country. Now, if they sat back, you can imagine what would have been the alternative. Now, you are only being asked to take a voter's card and cast that ballot to the right person. How much would it take to just do that and make that change? I believe that we need to be responsible, not only for ourselves, but for those who are around us, because the consequences apply to all of us. The Constitution today, and I know you were in the process of bringing up this Constitution as a young lawyer, says that all sovereign power in this country belongs to us. And it's the people who decide whether to express it directly or indirectly through elected leaders. So you can imagine that you have more power than that person you're fearing who is sitting on a seat. And your power can only be expressed through a vote. And when you do something, the effects can be had. You are talking about Uwezo Fund. You are talking about the Ministry of Youth. I can tell you, without any fear of contradiction, that it took the effort of young men. When we were in the youth movement, I remember us clamoring for a youth ministry. We were saying there is no way we can address youth issues in this country if we do not have a youth ministry. The youth ministry came to be. Uwezo Fund is happening. The National Youth Council is happening. It is young people who got out of their comfort zone. They could have sat back and said, you know what, it doesn't affect us, man. I'll do my comedy, I'll get paid well, and I'll live my life.
Maybe a brief one on the current law. You know, Article 38 of the Constitution gives every Kenyan that freedom to be a voter, and it also gives you the freedom to belong to a political party, and also gives you the freedom to seek for an elected post. And again, we have made reforms in changing the law. Now there will be no longer long queues, because we know there are people who queued and then time for voting was over and they were sent away. So now the longest queue could only be 700 people, and that can be handled within a day. So there'll be streams, voting streams, and enough poly clerks, so that nobody is going to queue the whole day from 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
They may have health issues, and then so we have made improvements so that it is good for voters, so that they don't feel overstrained to be able to.
We've got to actually wrap up the conversation. We do have an outside broadcast that is just starting here, but I think it's been at the beginning of what should be an ongoing conversation. Even if we're continuing this online with Djibouti, I know you guys probably have an online presence. We can continue this conversation. I just want to thank all of you for being here, for being honest, and sharing your views. And of course, it's been a very, very candid discussion. So I appreciate that.
Allow me to say something? Just one thing.
Okay, quickly.
I'd like to end this with a quote by Bertolt Brecht. And he says that the worst illiterate is the political illiterate. He hears nothing, sees nothing, takes no part in political life. He doesn't seem to know that the cost of living, the price of beans, of flour, of rent, of medicines, all depend on political division. He even prides himself on his political ignorance, sticks out his chest and says he hates politics. He doesn't know, the imbecile, that from his political non-participation comes the prostitute, the abandoned child, the robber, and worst of all, corrupt officials, the lackeys of exploitative multinational corporations.
All right. On that note, we do have to end the show. I think it's a conversation that we will continue here on Power Breakfast another day. I want to say thank you so much for watching Power Breakfast. My name is Joy Mutengi.
My name is Willis Aburu, reminding that successful people look like you, registered or unregistered, and of course, like the great Manchester United. Have yourself a wonderful day.